Hey, it's Ben here. I'm going to make a quick video about how to be profitable as a vendor, especially from day one, if possible. So a couple things come to mind. The first is your inventory. So there's a saying in business that you don't make money selling items, you make money buying items. So let's say there's a book that you know that you can sell easily in your booth for $9 or $10, and you see it, you're at a garage sale and it's at $8 or it's at $7. You've you've got to do the little bit of math in your head and think, okay, a few things can happen. Number one, there's a chance it won't sell and you'll have to mark it down to a price lower than you paid for it. That happens, and that's not the end of the world when that happens a few times, but if it's a pattern, that's a concern. The second is, the ARC is earning a commission on that, and so you want to be prepared to have plenty of room to pay that commissions for us to handle all the sales and advertising and everything, and you still make more money. I always tell vendors, you should be making more money on your items than I am. And so you should have more than a 15% profit margin on your items, because I have a 15% profit item on those items essentially. And so you should probably have something closer to 50, 60, 70%. So I'll explain, when people come in and try to sell us stuff, which is almost daily, sometimes multiple times a day, I look it up, I determine the value, and so I'll say if we're going to sell it for $10, the very, very, very most I can spend is $5. I'm probably going to try to get it, though, down to $3 or $4, so I've got room. And so you've just got to think of those types of things. Another thing to consider is how many items are in your booth. So sometimes Mom and I will work with generally newer vendors, and they'll say, well, I'm just not making as much money as I should. And so we'll do a quick count. And so we'll say, okay, your booth rent is 40, you've got 20 in fees, you're going to pay a little commission on that. And so let's just do a round number of 70-ish bucks, 65, 70 bucks. But you'll count, and if everything in their booth would sell, it would sell for like $40. They would have $40. And so you're behind the eight ball already. You can't win in those situations if you don't have enough merchandise in there. So make sure to keep it full. The other thing is, if you step back and look at your booth, and there are certainly better merchandisers than I am that can speak to some of this, but if you step back and look at your booth after you've serviced it and ask yourself, what is your focal point? And if you don't immediately have an answer to that, then you've got an issue, in my opinion, because it means the customer could walk by and not even look at it. Our cashiers and I joke about this, our family and I jokes about this. It's not really a funny joke, but you can, as you just watch people, whether it's on the cameras or whether you're just walking by or whether we're just seeing it up front, the number of times people just walk by a booth. We always joke and say, do these people think they're at the gym just on a treadmill? No, these are stores. They need to be looking at each one of them. But if they're consistently walking by a booth, it just generally means there's nothing that drew them in. And so generally speaking, that's a display problem. That's a display problem and an inventory problem. The ones I see stuff walk by the fastest is one of two things: either booths that are so sparse, there's empty shelves, there's a bunch of holes, everything like that, or booths that are on the opposite end of that spectrum, where there are thousands of things just jumbled in there. And so people just walk by because nothing caught their eye and said, oh, let me look at this booth. The other thing is, sometimes people are fairly priced on a lot of things, but a few things will be higher priced. I do this when I'm in stores. If I'm in a booth, I love shopping at some of the malls in Wichita and stuff like that. If I'm in a booth and the first thing I pick up is 8 times the price that I would be comfortable paying for it, do you think I'm going to pick up another item in that booth, even though that may have just been an overpriced item and the rest of them may all be cheaper? No, I've looked at it, whoa, and just said, this booth is not for me, I'm going to move on. So that's another issue. It's a good idea to constantly be shuffling the booth and reworking it. I don't know that there's a such thing as too much time spent in the booth, because for a lot of our vendors, spending time in the booth is fun. You know, it's the same for us. Spending time in our booths, reworking things is fun, and you get enjoyment out of it. However, if you've only sold one thing in the last couple of days, but every day you bring in 20 things, there's something going wrong, because my guess is we're just shoving stuff in there, and it may not be looking as best as it can. So those are all things to be thinking about why you could be, or how you could be more profitable. As always, you can work with any of our team. We'll give you the best advice we can. We're every day proven wrong about some things, and so that just happens. So if you feel strongly about something, continue with it. You don't have to take our advice, but it might be helpful. Thanks.